This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Breaking news, investigators say an arsonist was behind this fire that tore through a downtown LA apartment complex under construction, causing as much as $30 million in damage.
A Christmas service tragedy, pedestrians killed outside a church after a children's holiday concert.
The billboards come down, but the problems are far from over. The cyber attack at Sony making waves from Hollywood to the White House, where it's being called a serious national security matter. Good evening. I'm Mark Brown, in for David Ono.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. And we begin with breaking news. Investigators tonight announcing that massive fire at a downtown Los Angeles construction site was arson. Just a short while ago, a statement from the LA Fire Department and arson investigators with the ATF said the fire was deliberately set. Specific information regarding the investigation is not being released at this time as the criminal investigation continues. The December 8th fire at the Da Vinci apartment complex caused $20 to $30 million in damage. Investigators are still looking for two potential witnesses seen in video that could lead them to a suspect. And a transient is facing arson charges after police say he set 3 cars on fire in downtown LA. The first call came in just before 3 this morning involving a black sports car in the 1000 block of South Hill Street. Moments later, a second call for the fire involving a PT Cruiser in the 900 block of South Hill Street. The third call came in around 3:15 this morning in the 200 block of East 11th Street. LA City firefighters quickly put out all 3 fires.
3 people are dead, 2 others in critical condition after a Christmas service tragedy in Redondo Beach. The victims had just left St. James Catholic Church last night when a car plowed into a group of people. Eyewitness News reporter Melissa McBride is live in Redondo Beach, where church members continue to grieve. Melissa.
Mark, the church community at St. James is praying for the families of those who were killed and injured in the accident, and they're also praying for the woman who was behind the wheel. Flowers mark the crosswalk outside of St. James Catholic Church, where 11 parishioners were struck. Grandmothers Marianne Wilson and Saiko Matsumura and 36-year-old Martha Gaza died of their injuries. 3 adults and 5 children were injured, including Gaza's 5-year-old son, Samuel. Michael Tovar witnessed the deadly crash.
The next thing I know, there's a car coming through them all and people were flying in the air.
A viewer sent us this video of the scene using the hashtag ABC7 Eyewitness. The accident happened as people were leaving St. James after attending the church school's Advent program. Police say 56-year-old Margot Bronstein ran the red light at PCH and Vincent.
The vehicle actually carried some of the pedestrians and then collided head-on with another vehicle that was traveling southbound on Pacific Coast Highway.
Police say she was under the influence of prescription drugs. According to the DMV, Bronstein was restricted to using a vehicle that had hand-controlled brakes.
She didn't get out of the car. I yelled at her and asked her, "What did you do?" And she just looked at me, blank-eyed. I said, "Look what you did."
The U.S. Department of Transportation says more than 10,000 people were killed by a drunk driver last year. That's 1 death every 52 minutes. In the days surrounding Christmas and New Year's, there are hundreds of fatalities. At a midday mass, parishioners were encouraged to hold on to their faith.
We're just all in shock. It's a wonderful school. It's a wonderful parish. And when God calls, He calls.
Meantime, Margot Bronstein is being held in jail tonight, and she's facing 3 counts of felony vehicular manslaughter under the influence. Reporting live in Redondo Beach, I'm Melissa McBride, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Melissa, thank you. A Buena Park man is in custody facing charges for a deadly hit-and-run in Anaheim that killed a 44-year-old woman. Authorities say 30-year-old Junior Lopez is the suspected driver of a white pickup truck that hit and killed Daniela Palacios on November 1st. Police say they believe this is the white truck, and they say when they arrested Lopez, they also seized his vehicle, which is a white 2013 Ford F-150 extra cab pickup. Palacios leaves behind 8 children and 11 grandchildren.
More fallout in the wake of the cyber attack against Sony Pictures. Here in Los Angeles, crews are seen taking down billboards for The Interview today. The movie has been the center of the hacking debacle. Officials in Washington addressed the attack today, but fell short of blaming it on North Korea. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson shows us how the studio and the country plan to move forward.
The U.S. government says North Korea is responsible for the hack of Sony to stop the release of The Interview.
We're going to North Korea! We view it as a legitimate national security matter. It's being investigated accordingly.
It should be a wake-up call that a country like North Korea has this kind of capability.
Young Se-Yul defected from North Korea. He once worked on computer systems in Pyongyang.
공격, 테러, 첩보.
He says the country conducts cyber attacks using a shadow agency called Bureau 121, which has agents working in countries all over the world. The group is believed to be responsible for an attack on South Korea, where ATMs froze for days and media outlets went dark.
The code from that hack has been linked to the code in the Sony hack.
Retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel Hal Kempfer fought in ground wars for years, but says cyber wars have potential to be just as dangerous.
Really what this is starting to look like is very clearly state-sponsored terrorism. It's just state-sponsored terrorism in the cyber domain.
Robert Kaufman is a professor of public policy at Pepperdine.
How can the U.S. now respond?
Well, we have economic sanctions, we have diplomatic sanctions, we have cyber responses of our own.
The White House says it may not be able to tell the public about every aspect of the response.
Freedom of speech is a core value, and responding weakly would set a terrible precedent.
Federal officials tell ABC News that they expect tomorrow Justice Department officials will formally announce that North Korea is responsible for all this and provide evidence of it. Reporting from Burbank, Alex Michelson, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
Another movie lampooning North Korea is also being pulled from theaters. When the release of the interview was canceled, some cinemas plan to show Team America World Police instead.
I'm so lonely, so lonely.
The movie from the creators of South Park made fun of Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il. Several theaters announced yesterday they would play the movie next week to mark its 10-year anniversary. But today, Paramount Pictures ordered them not to screen the film.
Meantime, Sony Pictures co-chair Amy Pascal met with civil rights leader Al Sharpton today to discuss his concerns over racially charged emails leaked by the hackers. Sharpton said, quote, "The jury is still out with where we go with Amy," but he also agreed to work with her moving forward.
We have agreed to having a working group deal with the racial bias and lack of diversity in Hollywood and in the film industry, that she and Sony will work with the National Action Network, National Urban League, National Association of the Advancement of Colored People, and the Black Women's Roundtable to see if we can come up with an immediate plan to deal with.
The leaked emails include one in which Sony executives joke about President Obama only liking movies with black actors, and others in which they joked about movie stars adopting black children. Pascal issued a formal apology last week.
Caught on video, burglars smashed their way into a local business. The two suspects hit an Anaheim Hills eye doctor's office early Monday morning. The video shows the pair scooping up designer eyeglass and sunglass frames into a bag and laundry basket. They walk away with $20,000 to $30,000 worth of merchandise. It came just 24 hours after another burglary with the same MO in the same area. The shop's owner hopes the video will lead to the arrest.
Well, today we got a glimpse of the Boston bombing suspect for the first time in nearly a year and a half. Johar Tsarnaev appeared in U.S. District Court today for the final status conference before his trial starts next month. Here he is being led into the building. Prosecutors say he, along with his elder brother, detonated 2 bombs near the Boston Marathon finish line last year, killing 3 people and wounding 260. The brother died several days later in a shootout with police. Meanwhile, outside the courthouse today, one of the victims faced off with protesters.
Have you seen any evidence? Get a light, lady. Get a light. Go to work.
As demonstrators questioned whether the right man is on trial, Boston bombing survivor Mark Fucarile held up his prosthetic leg, telling them that's proof right there. Fucarile says he wants the protesters to look at the evidence. Tsarnaev's trial is expected to last several months, and if he's convicted, he could face the death penalty.
For the first time, Stephen Collins is speaking out about those accusations detailing sexual abuse of children. The Seventh Heaven star admits to the misconduct in an exclusive interview with Yahoo Global anchor Katie Couric.
I love you, Dad.
I love you too, kiddo.
Stephen Collins played the virtuous father and pastor on TV's Seventh Heaven for 11 years. welcome everyone.
But after shocking allegations of sexual misconduct with underage girls, Collins is now an entertainment industry pariah. His undoing, the release of a 2012 audio recording of his confession during a marriage counseling session with his estranged wife, Faye Grant.
The exposure happened a couple of times.
A couple of times? You told me once.
No, I said on the list it happened several times. There were, I think, there were like 3 incidents over about 3 years.
Following the October release of the recording, Collins has lost acting jobs, and the show that made him famous has been pulled from syndication. Now, for the first time on television, he's breaking his silence.
Tell us what happened.
Well, in 1973, there were 2 occasions when I exposed myself to this young woman.
In an exclusive new interview with Yahoo Global anchor Katie Couric, Collins describes an inappropriate encounter he initiated with an underage girl, the first of 3, he says, between 1973 and 1994.
And several months later, she came to visit and stay with us, with my first wife and me. And my wife had gone to sleep, and she and I were watching TV alone together. I knew that something unthinkably wrong had just happened that I couldn't take back.
Collins also confesses to exposing himself to a teenage girl in 1982 and again in 1994. He tells Couric that after extensive therapy and religious consultation, he has not had an impulse to act out in such a way since 1994.
Katie Couric's full interview with Stephen Collins will stream live on Yahoo Friday and on air on 2020 Friday night on ABC7.
A big development today in a case that has shocked the whole country.
2 young girls on trial for the brutal stabbing of a friend inspired by the fictional online character Slender Man. What a judge decided today.
Plus, caught on camera, an innovative shoplifting attempt that makes even police chuckle. We'll take a closer look.
And whale watching from Air 7 HD, we're going to show you where a pod of killer whales with more than a dozen orcas was spotted late today.
Cool. All right, we had a few clouds today. It was cool, but cool will not be the word we're using as we head into the weekend. We have a big warm-up in store in your 7-day forecast. Stick around.
A major development today in a criminal case that's made headlines coast to coast. 2 young girls stabbing their 12-year-old friend, allegedly leaving her to die in the woods. She survived. Why did they do it? Authorities say for a fictional character on the internet. Tonight a judge has now decided whether they should stand trial. Here's ABC's Alex Perez.
They are just 12 and 13, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire. Today, a judge ruled they will stand trial for allegedly leading their friend Peyton Leitner into the woods, stabbing her 19 times, and leaving her for dead, all to please a fictional character known as Slenderman. Today in court, Wire's lawyer saying she didn't understand the legal proceedings. The judge wouldn't let camera show Wire's face, but we could hear her voice.
I consider myself incompetent, sir.
The judge disagreed.
She's competent to be able to make the decisions that have to be made.
Later, he ruled Geyser could also stand trial.
To be competent to stand trial, you just need to be able to understand the proceedings against you and be able to assist in your defense. It's a very low standard.
The 2 girls likely tried as adults. In an interview with Peyton's parents, David asking them what they think of that.
Do you think they should be charged as adults?
For me, it's about making sure Peyton feels safe, and it's about making sure Peyton feels that she can move on with the rest of her life with no fear.
Peyton is back in school right now, her bedroom covered in Purple Hearts, messages of support she's received from around the world. Alex Perez, ABC News, Chicago.
What a sight off the waters of Rancho Palos Verdes today. Air 7 HD was overhead as a pod of orcas, or killer whales, were spotted swimming and splashing along a couple of miles offshore. Take a look. It was near the Trump golf course. Witnesses say they spotted as many as 15 whales.
That's really something to see.
They're very social.
Yeah, they are. Jonathan Novak is here now talking about the things that are changing.
Speaking of social, they've got some stuff this weekend going on. Looks great for it. We don't have any of these big systems coming through, and as we head into Christmas, 80 degrees. Take it in. 80 degrees. I know. Eyebrows raised. It looks like it's going to be a warm forecast heading into the latter half of the 7-day. But for today, temperatures were a little cool, and we had some cloud cover and even a little bit of light rain over the mountains. This is a shot, a time lapse from Angeles National Forest. Beautiful as that sun went down. Look at that snow on the ground. Beautiful. Okay. I'm Megan Alper, 7000 HD. We are dry right now. We had a few light readings showing up through the afternoon, much of which wasn't even reaching the ground. Santa Barbara, a few light sprinkles in your area, and that's it. Tonight's dry. We go through tomorrow. Things might change a little for the northern counties, but it's a dry forecast. In fact, the question is certainly, I think, worthy at this point to ask, how's the drought doing? Because we've had about 4 inches of rain or so far in December. Well, this was last week, December 11th. About 80% of the state was in an extreme drought, 55% in an exceptional drought, which is the worst you can have. That's the category at the top, and that's where we are. Now, that 55% has dropped to 32%, a little bit better. Extreme drought, still right around 78%. So we got a long ways to go. We need these systems. We don't need the damage and the trouble that comes along with it, of course, but if we can get some more of these over the next couple of months, it's going to certainly help, at least, to get us hopefully out of that exceptional category this year, and then we'll need some more next year. 62 was our high today in downtown, below the average of 67, and we had a ridge of high pressure, just a weak one, temporarily building in today, and then it's going to move to the east, make room for this front to roll through tomorrow night, and that could bring a sprinkle up around Santa Barbara, maybe a flurry around Frazier Park. Otherwise, we're going to keep it dry and look forward to what happens late Saturday into Sunday, and that's this. Future scan showing Friday at 10 p.m. There's that weak front moving through. Nothing much from that, and maybe some cloud cover, additional cloud cover for Friday and Saturday. But look at this, Saturday at 7 p.m. You see this arc? That is high pressure building in, and by Sunday it is strengthening, and by Monday even more so. And that means temperatures getting up to the 70s, and by Tuesday we are at 80 degrees in Los Angeles for December. Wow. 65 tomorrow in Los Angeles and Inglewood, 62 San Bernardino, 63 in Ontario. 70 forecast, LA Metro, Orange County. Hey, Santa, how you doing? 67 on Christmas for a high temperature. Friday, Saturday, we're in the 60s, and then look at that, Sunday, 74, 76 on Monday, 80 degrees on Tuesday. We have a little bit of cool down there, back to average on Christmas Day. Valleys, IE, 2 days in the 60s, maybe a sprinkle around the northern counties, the mountains of Ventura, the foothills there, maybe a flurry or two as well. 73 on Sunday, 80 by Tuesday, and again, back to average in the 60s for Santa on Christmas Day, 65 Christmas Day for the beaches. Temperatures in the 70s from Sunday to Wednesday. Wow, just really warm stuff. The mountains, again, that slight risk Friday Friday night into Saturday of a flurry. Chances only 20%. Temps in the 40s for Friday and Saturday. And then you're into the upper 50s on Monday. And Christmas looking good back into the mid-40s. And the high desert, a few clouds the next couple of days. Dry. Sunny, mild on Sunday, and nearing 70 by Tuesday. Tuesday's the day, guys. 80 degrees. And hey, wave high. Santa's saying hi. He likes cooler temperatures.
All right, Jonathan. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Holiday shoplifters appear to be pulling out all the stops this shopping season. Tonight, one case in point, caught on video with an acting scene that featured a twist to die for. Here's ABC's Gio Benitez.
It's the kind of brazen theft you've got to watch to believe. Every second captured on camera. Right here, watch as two men with a shopping cart walk into this Florida Walmart and go straight for those popular items on holiday lists all across the country. A Barbie vacation house, and then moments later, they go for the Power Wheel. Their loot worth nearly $400. But it doesn't end there. When the pair is ready to leave the store, watch as one takes the lead with the massive items. And look over here. The other man allegedly acts like he's having a heart attack, falling to the ground. Shoppers not sure what to do. All as the other man walks right out of the store with the goods. Moments later, the alleged decoy is back on his feet and also out the door.
We have seen diversions before, so it's not original, but it was pretty interesting.
Shoplifting and other thefts cost businesses $30 billion a year.
So, Nick, these thefts are not just affecting the companies, they're affecting people too.
Any thefts from a company, they'll add that into their bottom line and they'll charge more for the product.
In fact, families pay more than $400 a year in higher prices because of it. As for these guys caught on camera, they're now both behind bars. Gio Benitez, ABC News, New York.
Up next, why your tax refund may be a little late this spring.
Plus, a big decision about access to a popular local beach. Can Paradise Cove in Malibu keep charging people for visiting?
And ride-sharing rules about to change when you could legally Uber it to LAX. Plus, the new taxi technology that could make rideshare apps obsolete.
The leaseholder who runs the Paradise Cove restaurant in Malibu can no longer charge people for access to the beach. The owner has agreed to remove signs banning surfing, open a locked gate, and stop charging a $20 walk-in fee for beach access. The announcement was made today by the California Coastal Commission and State Lands Commission, which pushed for the change. One thing that will remain, the $40 parking fee.
You may have to wait to get your tax refund next year. Today, the IRS announced that budget cuts just enacted by Congress could delay your check. Also, many people who call the IRS for help during tax season will never get through to an actual human being. This comes in a year when tax filing could be a little harder, since for the first time, everybody now has to report on their tax return if they have health insurance or not. And forget about next day or even same-day delivery service. Today, online retail giant Amazon began offering 1-hour delivery in southern Manhattan. It's for members of its subscription Prime service. It'll cost $7.99 per delivery. The 2-hour delivery is free for members. Amazon says the service, called Prime Now, will be expanded to other cities in the new year. The launch comes as Amazon competes with other retailers for last-minute holiday sales.
Wow. Well, we are updating evening's top stories next here at 7:30.
Including a career criminal under arrest now for allegedly impersonating a police officer. Police say he had a car and a badge. Find out what he was doing when he was caught.
And with his country's economy taking a nosedive, Russian President Vladimir Putin tries to soothe fears.
Live from ABC7, this is Eyewitness News at 7:30 p.m. on LA56.
Our top story at 7:30, investigators have determined that massive fire at a downtown Los Angeles construction site was arson. I'm Colleen Sullivan.
I'm Mark Brown, in for David Ono. This is Eyewitness News on LA56, LA's only live local newscast at 7 p.m. Today, a statement from the LA Fire Department and arson investigators with the ATF said this fire was deliberately set. The December 8th fire at the Da Vinci apartment complex caused $20 to $30 million worth of damage. Investigators are looking for these two men, two potential witnesses seen in video that could, they're hoping, lead them to a suspect.
More fallout from the Sony hacking story. Here in Los Angeles, crews are seen taking down billboards for the interview today. The movie has been the center of the hacking scandal. Officials in Washington addressed the attack today, but stopped short of blaming it on North Korea.
An Inland Empire man arrested in Highland on suspicion of impersonating a police officer. Detectives found quite a collection of evidence inside his vehicle, as we learned from Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan.
23-year-old Corey Charlton is accused of impersonating a police officer. Police say he drove an unmarked car that looked a lot like a real sheriff's patrol unit, and authorities say they also found all of this stuff inside his home. A belt, vests, a BB gun that looks a lot like an assault rifle, and a replica badge.
It's actually really scary because, I mean, years ago I heard about something like that in San Diego and girls actually getting raped because they would get pulled over to dark places where so I mean, it's scary to know that's happening here in the neighborhood.
Florencia Lopez lives just up the street from the suspect. She says she saw him get arrested this morning near the intersection of 13th and Banger in Highland.
When I looked outside the window, the guy had his hands up out of the car, and they were pointing the guns at him.
Highland police say it was actually an on-duty detective who saw Charlton, and from a distance it looked like he was a real cop trying to conduct a pedestrian stop. So the detective pulled over to help out, and that's when Charlton drove off. So the detective moved in to arrest him. They have important information for anyone who gets pulled over, and they're not sure whether it's a real officer who they're dealing with.
If they feel that they're unsure as to whether or not that person is indeed a law enforcement official, we encourage them to immediately call 911.
And if you think you've been pulled over by this guy, call the number on your screen, 1-800-78-CRIME. That's 1-800-782-7463. Police say that Charlton did work as a private security guard a few years ago, and while it is legal for most folks to have possession of a lot of the stuff that was found in his property, it's not legal for him to have that because he is on probation for felony grand theft auto. And one thing that no one is allowed to have, that flashing blue strobe light, which police say he did have installed in that unmarked car. In Highland, Rob McMillan, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Today, a Ventura man pleaded guilty to murdering a couple and their unborn child 5 years ago. The guilty plea came after prosecutors finally dropped their intention to seek the death penalty for Joshua Packer. He admitted stabbing Brock and Davina Husted to death after he broke into their Ventura County Beach home to commit a robbery. He was also accused of sexually assaulting the pregnant woman. Packer will be sentenced to life in prison without parole in February.
Christmas came early for a local mother who survived a brutal attack and was recently released from the hospital. Blanca Rodriguez got a holiday surprise at the fire station in Highland Park today. Rodriguez survived a brutal stabbing last month, so the LAPD and LA Fire Department wanted to make sure the Rodriguez family had gifts for their 3 little girls, so they got some help from our Spark of Love toy drive.
She's a member of our community, and she's a friend of the station, and we're just happy to see that she can spend Christmas with her family, with her 3 girls and her husband.
So happy, and I say thank you, my God, for everything, for the people. It's a good people around my family, and everybody's helping.
Meantime, police have arrested a reputed gang member and charged him with stabbing Rodriguez.
A gruesome picture is emerging as prosecutors file charges against the New Hampshire man. He's charged with kidnapping a 14-year-old girl, holding her captive, and assaulting her for 9 months. The 205-count indictment charges 34-year-old Nathaniel Kibbe with abducting the girl in October of 2012 while she was walking home. Prosecutors say Kibbe repeatedly raped the girl and used death threats, a stun gun, a dog shock collar, and zip ties to control her.
Kidnapping, robbery, criminal threatening, use of an electronic defense weapon, and felonious use of a firearm.
Kibbe was arrested in July, a week after the girl was released and returned home.
A contentious debate turns into a brawl in Kenya's parliament today. The fight erupted during a vote on a controversial security bill which eventually passed. Outside, several people were arrested protesting the vote. The law supporters say it will help fight terrorism, but its opponents, including the media and human rights groups, say it will restrict important civil liberties. We're learning more about what led to yesterday's historic announcement that the U.S. are working toward restoring relations with Cuba. It follows more than a year of high-level secret talks between the United States and Cuba. President Obama says that Pope Francis played a very important role. The Vatican helped coordinate meetings between U.S. and Cuban officials. The final details were hammered out at the Vatican this fall.
It was something built day by day with a long negotiation with the regime of Raul Castro. And now the Pope had the soft power to induce all the other actors to act properly and to reach this agreement.
Today, Pope Francis reacted to the news, saying he was happy to see two nations take a step to bring them closer together.
With the Russian ruble in free fall, President Vladimir Putin addressed the media to reassure his citizens. ABC's Kirat Raja is in Moscow with what to expect now from this world power.
As the ruble crashed this week and Russians scrambled to use their savings before it was lost, there was no word from President Putin. Until today. At his annual year-end press conference, the Russian leader refused to call it a crisis, but he made it clear there are tough times ahead. How long will it take? In the worst case, I think a couple years, he said. During more than 3 hours of questions, Putin blamed external forces for Russia's economic problems, namely Western sanctions. He warned of looming budget cuts, but there's no sign yet he's ready to cut his growing military budget. With NATO warning of Russian troops in Ukraine, the big question, is a wounded Russian bear more dangerous? Already we've seen Russian military planes buzzing the coast of Europe, like this video of Dutch F-16s intercepting Russian bombers over the Baltic Sea. At today's press conference, a BBC reporter asked Putin, are we headed for a new Cold War? We did not attack anyone, Putin said. We only defend our interests. He pointed to American military bases around the world as evidence that the United States is the one acting aggressively. They want to chain up the bear, Putin said, so they can pull out its claws and teeth. At the end, Putin said his country seeks normal relations with the rest of the world. Kirat Radia, ABC News, Moscow.
Ahead of Putin's news conference, police arrested about 20 protesters and took them away in a van. They were reportedly trying to get into the event, open only to accredited members of the media. The reason for the arrests was not disclosed by Russian police.
Here at home, the Airport Commission gave the green light today for a $4 billion plan for an automated train system at LAX. This clears the way for environmental review of the project. The train would connect passengers to airline terminals from several locations, including a rental car center and the Metro Crenshaw line. Supporters say the plan will also ease traffic around the airport. City officials hope to start construction in 2017. And the City of LA may be taking steps to level the playing field between traditional taxi cabs and rideshare companies such as Uber and Lyft. Eyewitness News reporter Robert Olguin takes a look at some of the changes under consideration.
The City of LA is exploring whether or not the same technology used by rideshare companies like Uber and Lyft should be required on traditional taxi cabs.
It'll be a set of recommendations to this commission.
The Los Angeles Taxi Cab Commission says it will decide next month whether to explore a uniform city-approved app for taxi cabs.
Maybe we should start getting onto an e-hail world.
Meanwhile, at LAX, airport officials are trying to figure out whether rideshare companies should be allowed to operate legally. Currently, they're not allowed to pick up passengers at the airport, only drop them off.
As a resident of LA, I want to be able to have that option here like I do in other cities that I travel to.
At today's Airport Commission meeting, dozens of Uber and Lyft drivers made their case for full access to LAX.
Having the airport open would be really beneficial to me because it brings a lot of money to LA.
But a representative for taxicab companies says rideshare companies need to do a better job of screening their drivers.
The business model is to provide the service as cheaply as possible, and where they save money is on background checks for drivers.
Rideshare companies shot back, saying they put their drivers through extensive criminal background checks. Reps for Lyft and Uber also told commissioners they provide drivers with state-mandated insurance policies.
Uber has, since 2013, offered $1 million policy for anyone that's participating under TNC.
The current proposal under consideration by the Airport Commission includes having rideshare drivers pay $4 per trip, just like taxi cabs, creating a staging area for rideshare drivers, and limiting the amount of rideshare drivers that can operate at the airport. The Commission today did not take any action on the matter. They're still studying the proposals, but they hope to have a new policy in place by next month. Reporting from LAX, Robert Olguin, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Up next, why a local 100-year-old home set to be demolished this morning will survive another day.
Well, some pretty wild video. A cyclist on a collision course with a deer. We'll take a closer look.
Cool and cloudy today, but looking to the weekend, temperatures are warming up. I have, well, they call it a December heat wave of sorts in that 7 days. Stick around for it.
A deer and bicyclist in Northern California were both heading somewhere very fast. Unfortunately, they were in the same place at the same time. That dramatic video captured when the two collided. A bicyclist was riding full speed in Sausalito with the camera mounted onto his handlebars. That's when a deer you saw jump over the guardrail directly in front of his bike. The bicyclist suffered a minor concussion and some memory loss, but credits his helmet for saving his life. No word on the condition of the deer.
A century-old home in Los Feliz will survive another day after being scheduled for demolition this morning. A bulldozer and construction fence now surround the Oswald Bartlett house. Demolition was halted today because of a technicality with the DWP, but it will likely resume tomorrow. The house was designed by famed architect A.C. Martin, who was better known for his larger buildings, most notably LA City Hall. Last week, the Cultural Heritage Commission voted not to give it historical status. A developer plans to turn the property into townhomes.
The LA City Attorney's Office is cracking down on scam artists who take advantage of undocumented immigrants. As Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Grande explains, many are especially vulnerable to fraud as they navigate President Obama's newest immigration reforms.
With changes in immigration law, officials say they're scam artists ready to prey on those looking for help to get legal residence.
We know that when that happens, dreams are dashed, money is lost, and we need to do better.
LA City Attorney Mike Fewer says his department will crack down on illegal immigration consultants. The issue is that in Hispanic countries, a notary or a notario is someone who is authorized to give legal advice. Not so here in the United States, but many immigrants don't know the difference, and some people exploit that.
One case we had, the consultant offered an expedited process to process the documents as long as the consumer paid an extra $5,000. So we had hundreds of victims.
City Councilman Jose Huizar says it happened to him.
There was a notary public at that time that I went in, I put in my papers, went back a couple of months later, and that person was gone. Very easy for any of us to be a victim of fraud.
Officials want people to know there are places where you can get free legal help.
There's a lot at stake with these forms, obviously, which is why someone might be inclined to turn to a notario or immigration consultant. They ought not turn to them. Let them turn instead to legitimate providers of these services.
Officials say scam artists will be charged with unlawful business practices and possibly grand theft, and they could face up to a year in jail. Reporting from Hollywood, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The Jewish community is mourning the loss of Rabbi Harold Schulweis. He served as the spiritual leader of Valley Beth Shalom in the San Fernando Valley for decades. Schulweis was considered one of the most influential rabbis in the country. In 1992, he welcomed gay and lesbian Jews into his congregation, and he co-founded or founded numerous organizations that address poverty in the U.S., genocide in Africa, and recognized Christians who rescued Jews during the Holocaust. Rabbi Schulweis died at his home after a long struggle with heart disease. He was 89.
Coming up, the rain and snow are gone. Now get ready for a big change in our weather.
Meteorologist Jonathan Novak has his complete forecast next.
Plus, in sports, 9 minutes that rocked social media. What did it have to do with Vin Scully? We'll tell you the answer coming up. Spinning wheels getting nowhere fast. The streets in Kansas City were almost empty last night. Icy roadways made getting around an ordeal. The Kansas City Department of Transportation had 48 plows working the metro area. Up to 4 inches of new snow kept them busy.
And icy conditions on Interstate 43 in Wisconsin kept emergency crews very busy as well. Freezing rain left highways slick and covered in black ice. There were dozens of accidents with drivers picking their way through crash debris on the roadside. salt trucks were out trying to help out. Oh, it's so awful to be driving in those conditions.
And here we are, just
talking
the
about
recipients of warm weather coming up.
80 degrees. Sorry. We have really warm weather. We actually, you know what, we need more of the rain that we've had recently. We don't need a heavy, heavy, heavy rain, but we need more of, like this week, when we had half an inch here, half an inch there. That was this week just chipping a little bit at the drought situation, not a lot. And we had some clouds today, but no measurable precipitation. This is actually a beautiful time lapse. How about that, guys? The clouds rolling over, running springs. That's our HD camera up there. Fantastic images this afternoon. Live Mega Doppler 7000 HD. We're dry for most of the area. There have been a few light sprinkles right around Santa Barbara County. And tonight, you can maybe see a few of those lingering on Friday night as well. But none of this looking like it's going to make it down to the southeast. So we're mostly dry going into the extended forecast. But we're not going to stay cool. It was cool today. 62 is our high in downtown. Normally we're at 67. 48. About the average of 47. So temperatures today were below average, but they're not going to stay that way as we head into the weekend. Right now, if I get you out the door this evening, 49. It's going to be a cool one. And some clouds, but no rain. 55 in Burbank at the moment. 58, good evening. Santa Clarita and Palmdale's at 45. Wrightwood, 31 and 29. Chilly at Big Bear. 59 Palm Springs. So we had a little bit of high pressure built in today. It wasn't a strong ridge of high pressure. You see that arc right there. What we have to the north of us is a cold front. This is really the only spot, not the only spot, but out of the whole country right now seeing the most rain is the Pacific Northwest. This front will slide to the south. It's going to try to make it here to Southern California. It's not really going to happen. Friday night into Saturday morning, we'll try to eke out a couple of light showers in the northern counties. Around the mountains, maybe a flurry around Fraser Park and the north-facing slopes. Otherwise, we'll keep it dry. Partly to mostly cloudy for tomorrow into Saturday, and temperatures about average, okay? Then this happens. Saturday night into Sunday, we see high pressure building in. That's where this arc is right here. And it gets even stronger on Sunday and Monday. That means temperatures are warming up not just into the 70s next week, but we should hit 80 degrees in LA and the valley areas on Tuesday. And then it looks like temperatures will go back to average just in time for Christmas Day. Tomorrow, you're looking at your highs for tomorrow. Lower to mid-60s pretty much across the board. Unless you're in the mountains, of course, you got highs in the 40s. And Apple Valley, I say that, 55 degrees tomorrow afternoon. 7-day forecast, LA Metro and Orange County. So a couple of clouds for a couple of days. And then we've got temperatures in the 60s, warming up to 74 by Sunday, Monday 76, and there it is. This is December, and it's going to be 80 on Tuesday. Santa waving hello. He likes 67, a little bit of a cool down into Christmas, but no rain expected. In fact, sunny skies from Sunday on. Valleys, IE, you got 60s for a couple of days, and you as well are going to be into the 70s and 80 by Tuesday. The beaches, very nice. Couple of days with partly to mostly cloudy skies. Mountains could see a flurry up in the northern portions of the area for Saturday morning. Otherwise, dry, 59 on Monday, and then we'll cool it back down to 44 for Christmas Day and high desert. Good stuff for you guys, too. 59 on Saturday, 62 on Sunday, nearing 70 by Tuesday for a high. T-shirt weather on Tuesday in December.
Perfect. Jonathan, thank you. Yeah. Well, he's 36 years old with a surgically repaired Achilles, so the Mamba's training and playing time is certainly monitored and measured these days, but the Lakers' light mid-December schedule allowed Kobe to hit the practice floor on consecutive days. Kobe's Thursday workout was over by the time ABC7 was allowed in the Lakers' practice facility in El Segundo. The Lakers, who have won 3 of the past 4 and host Oklahoma City tomorrow night. Kobe is his passing of Michael Jordan for number 3 on the all-time scoring list is in the rearview mirror. Now it's about building momentum.
Yeah, we're playing much better now than we did at the start of the season. We're starting to rally around each other, and the adversity is bringing us closer together. We obviously have moments. But it's not a team that's going to divide.
On to Montreal, where former Canadian and Duck Saku Koivu was honored for his 18-year NHL career, which ended last spring. Meanwhile, the Ducks paid no attention to the pregame honors. Striking first, Hampus Lindholm rips one into the back of the net. After Montreal tied it up in the third, Matt Bolesky notched his 15th goal of the season. To put this one on ice, the Ducks edged the Canadiens 2-1. Meantime, Twitter exploded this afternoon with news that Vince Scully may have lost a treasured piece of Dodger history while shopping. For a short time, social media was buzzing that Scully's 1988 World Series ring was missing. The Dodgers actually tweeted out the team phone number to anyone who could help find the ring. But 9 minutes later, the team says Scully himself located the lost ring, and all is right again with the baseball universe. Finally, with Jim Harbaugh considering a $48 million deal to coach Michigan, would Jim Mora consider replacing Harbaugh in San Francisco? The answer from Mora is an emphatic no. The UCLA head coach told 2 different radio stations he loves the Bruins and plans to continue to build something special at UCLA. Mora says his top focus is UCLA's Alamo Bowl showdown with Kansas State on January 2nd.
Some elementary school kids will be a little warmer this winter thanks to LAPD motor officers. Eyewitness News reporter John Gregory was there for the annual jacket giveaway.
Here you go, Bertha. Charms in right there. With each new coat, there's also a new smile. 50 of them here at 109th Elementary School.
It's wonderful. It melts my heart. This is the first year that we have been the recipients of the coats, so our children are ecstatic, and it's going to make a lot of children happy, very happy.
Officer Jerome Divinity is the man behind these coats for Christmas. The traffic cop works these streets, and he also grew up on them.
To whom much is given, much is required. I truly believe that, and this is just my way of giving back to people in my community.
Officer Divinity will hand out about 150 coats like this year at 3 different area schools. And the money for all these coats, it comes out of his own pocket.
I'm not raising money. It's my own money. It's out of my pocket, and it's for a great deed.
The coats will cost Officer Divinity about $1,500 this year, and some kids already have big plans for their new warmer wear.
I don't take care of it. When it's raining, I take it out and play with it.
When it rains, I'm gonna wear it, or right when we go out to the snow or something when it's cold.
With winter on the way and wet weather already overhead, a coat for Christmas is a gift many of these kids can't wait to try on. In South Los Angeles, John Gregory, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
That is great. Well, more news straight ahead here at 7:30 and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7. Southland cops in a fight for their lives. When a taser doesn't work, one officer nearly gets knocked out. Vandals have been terrorizing a local community from brazen break-ins to slashing tires. Tonight, a neighborhood fights back. Those stories and all the late breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on ABC7.
We've already shown you the pictures of the 3 new otter pups at the LA Zoo, but tonight we have video of the little fellas splashing around. The 3 giant otter pups, 2 females and 1 male, were born in September. They recently went outside with their parents for the first time. They learned how to swim in their new habitat. The zoo staff say the pups have all picked up swimming very quickly. You can watch them on exhibit daily, weather permitting.
Oh, they are adorable. Oh, trying to get up. Oh, so sweet. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Eyewitness News at 7:30 on LA56. Law & Order SVU is next here on LA56.
Eyewitness News continues at 11 p.m. on ABC7 and anytime on ABC7.com. Thanks for watching.